Welcome to the Reimagining Ourselves podcast, where we spend time dreaming of what we could heal and what we could become. I'm Cassandra. I'm a life coach and therapist, and I come to you with a decade of experience working in the mental health field and a lifetime of experience learning how to process and grow from pain and trauma. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons why you keep self-sabotaging. Some of us cannot seem to get out of our own way. Have you ever found yourself asking, why can't I stop doing this thing that is sabotaging my relationships, my career, my life? It can feel so frustrating to keep repeating a self-sabotaging behavior over and over again, despite a desire to stop. So today, I'm going to walk you through some reasons why it is so difficult to stop self-sabotaging and how to overcome these so you can finally get out of your own way and get the life that you want. The populations that I work with professionally often experience painful and serious cycles of self-sabotage. And I mention that because I want to be clear that I'm talking about all kinds of self-sabotaging behaviors, from the most damaging to the most benign. Some examples are things like impulsive breakups, unnecessary confrontations, or irresponsible spending. Now, I feel like I end up putting this disclaimer on every video, but there are so many more reasons than the ones I'm about to list for self-sabotage. Humans are very complicated creatures, and we always have a million little things that are impacting us. So today I'm just going to describe the first few that came to mind as I thought about this topic. So first and foremost, the number one reason for self-sabotage is low self-esteem. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you will continue to get in your own way and not believe that you deserve the good things in your life. Whether it's conscious or not, you are likely to bring yourself down to where you believe you belong. As we've touched upon in previous episodes, the development of your low self-esteem is not your fault. Everything from your personal trauma to the society we live in will impact the development of it. There are tons and tons of things that affect how vulnerable you were to taking in these messages about your worth, and there's a reason you got to where you are right now. For myself, because of my childhood experiences and later mental illness, I grew up feeling so worthless, and I certainly never believed it was possible to be my own best friend. And when I look back on my own struggles with this self-esteem, I find it so disturbing to see how we are really taught in a lot of ways to turn against ourselves. And so I'm here to tell you that even though it is not your fault, and even though it may feel impossible, it is your responsibility to take the steps that you need to heal your relationship with yourself. You deserve to take back that power. And even though you may have become comfortable with hating yourself, it is not okay that other people have done that to you, because none of us are born hating ourselves. Undoing this damage is a lot of work, and it may take years and years, but those years are going to go by anyway, and you really deserve it. If you're wondering how to improve your self-esteem, the first step you can take is to fake it until you make it. You can speak kindly to yourself in the mirror or just while you're driving somewhere, and eventually it will start to sink in. One of the most powerful ways to change your relationship with yourself is to speak to yourself like a sweet child when you're having a hard time, instead of speaking harshly to yourself and making it worse. There is a big difference between, oh, I can see that you're really sad right now, and what the hell is wrong with you? Stop crying. And I'm sure many of us know it can get a lot worse than that. A lot of times that vulnerability will feel really uncomfortable, but just remember, it's just you and you. I also think it's useful to find one thing that you feel like you can do to take care of yourself and focus on that care as you do it. For me, that's usually bathing myself and putting on oils, just like to really focus on taking care of my body. So find your own thing, because it probably is different for everyone. In my experience, your relationship with yourself only becomes more and more powerful. This is how you eventually can get in touch with your intuition, your different ways of knowing, your confidence, etc. And to me, that is why it is so egregious that so much of advertising and pop culture is focused on making us feel unworthy. So the next reason why you're self-sabotaging is because of your firefighter parts. And if you're familiar with IFS, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. IFS, or Internal Family Systems, is a theoretical framework that describes how we all have different parts of us trying to function together. Underneath all these different parts, we have a sturdy higher self that's able to observe and reassure these different little parts. So our firefighter parts are the parts that rush in when we sense danger. For example, you could have a firefighter part that hears alarm bells when you begin to get really close to someone you like. That part might remember something scary or painful that happened in the past when you felt like this. And many of these parts are very childlike because they were formed when we were children. The idea in IFS is to get to a point where these sweet little misguided children inside of us are no longer running the show. So another reason why you keep self-sabotaging may be because you haven't become aware of this part that is working so hard to do his or her job. That part needs to be acknowledged from a place of patience and acceptance. So using the same example from earlier, you might say something like, "Thank you so hard for working to keep me safe, but I'm ready to try something new, and I promise that we will be able to handle whatever comes. I'm here for you." Do you see how that flips the role from almost having this anxious child part running around and we're just along for the ride to a grown-up stepping in and being in charge? Finally, another big reason that you are self-sabotaging is because you're stuck in your comfort zone. It's like when someone doesn't want to leave a job, even though they know they aren't happy there. The fear of change and the unknown can sometimes feel so overwhelming that we just don't try. And sometimes our comfort zones are impacted by our attachment. If you are in a certain role with your caregivers, for example, you're more likely to subconsciously seek other relationships where you can continue to fill that same role. These experiences can also become so strong that we inadvertently confuse them with our identities. So even if you wish you would stop having emotional episodes, there may be a part of you, however small, that is struggling to let go of that idea of yourself. In the back of your mind, you might be saying, "But I'm the person who has emotional outbursts. That's who I am." And especially with things like significant trauma, borderline personality disorder, serious depression, or bipolar, it can feel like such a big part of you that it's hard not to say to yourself, "This is who I am." And because you think of these behaviors or symptoms as who you are, a part of you may not want to let them go. So doing so requires spending some time with yourself to probe around for how you can help yourself through uncomfortable moments of change and figure out what you want to identify with moving forward. You also may need to take some time to actually grieve the loss of your past, less healthy self and thank that self for doing what they needed to get through that part of your life. I have so much more to say about this topic, and we'll certainly dive into it more in the future. Let me know what you think and if there are any reasons for self-sabotage that I missed. If you enjoyed today's conversation, stick around, hit the subscribe button, and click the little notification bell so that we can use this social media for good. That's all for now, but I'll meet you here next time on Reimagining Ourselves. The Reimagining Ourselves podcast is a passion project of mine, and 100% of proceeds from this podcast are put directly into the hands of people working for environmental restoration, indigenous reclamation, and urban gardening.